Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Couch Talk. I'm Isa Liton. On behalf of Behind the Scenes, welcome. Welcome to everybody gathered here today. I believe we have more than 30 people already. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. First off, a little backgrounder about Behind the Scenes. It is a company specializing in theater skills that create interactive events. But for this MCQ, we're actually going a bit off script to bring you a series of talks from experts and friends. Last week here on Couch Talk, we took a closer look at our lockdown heroes, moms and dads, moms, and talked about motherhood's new normal. We had Jess Tangan, Trisha Santanera, and Solen Yusuf, and it was moderated by Anne Gauthier. Today, we will be discussing future proofing your business. And just like always, we encourage all of you to please do ask your questions via the Q&A button found at the bottom of your screen. Again, via the Q&A button found at the bottom of your screen. We will be selecting 3 questions from you, our guests, so that we will throw them at our panelists later on. So please don't hesitate to ask your questions. So we have 3 entrepreneurs for our topic today, future-proofing your business. And they are, first and foremost, we have the founder and CEO of Cloud CFO. Cloud CFO is an accounting, bookkeeping, and finance service provider for startups and SMEs in the Philippines. We have their CEO, Mickael Cardoso.
Hi, Isa. Thanks for
Hi,
having me.
Mika. Good afternoon to you, Mix.
Afternoon.
Joining us today also is the managing partner of Happy Skin. Happy Skin, by the way, if you're not familiar with it, is a homegrown Filipino beauty brand committed to offering world-class quality makeup. We have their managing partner, Diane Tan. Hi, Diane.
Hi, Isa. Thanks for having me and excited to learn from all the other panelists today.
Glad to have you as well. Exciting day today. Completing our panelist is the businessman and founder of LM10 Corporation. LM10 is a Filipino company with Argentine capitals with the objective of bringing and investing in agribusiness technology here in the Philippines. We have their founder, Nico Bolzico. Hey, Nico.
Hi, Isa. Hi, guys.
Hi, Nico.
Wow.
Happy to be
Hi,
here today.
Nico.
Great panel we have today. Again, Mika, Diane, and Nico. So I gave a little one-liner already about your companies, but I think it's best for our audience to actually hear from you directly. So please tell us more about what it is that you do, and let's be real, how you and your businesses were affected by the COVID situation. Mika, may we have you first, please?
Sure. Thanks, Isa. So Cloud CFO is an accounting and financial services provider, primarily leveraging of cloud technology. That's kind of in the name already. So the services we provide are bookkeeping online, tax filings, payroll services, financial reporting, and so on. All of it geared towards finance and accounting. So we've been around for about 3.5 years, 4 years. We rely, our main market is the Philippines. About 90% of our customers are in the Philippines. So primarily, yes, we're introducing the notion of cloud accounting, which in today's challenges is kind of taking the forefront of the discussion in our industry. So our business model is kind of adapted to face something like this, but it's not. I can't say we took the turn without challenges. Overnight, we pretty much had to put about 40 plus employees on a work from home setup.
Ooh, okay.
And we do have the tools and technology to do it. We even have our own web application to monitor our processes with clients and interface with them. But there's still technical issues. I mean, we need to ensure that, the downside of cloud technology is you need internet. And in some areas...
That's its own issue. Yeah, that has...
Definitely.
It's in its own issue upon itself.
So we needed to ensure that everyone had reliable access to internet, and in some cases provide redundancy with mobile data and things like this. So it took us a couple of days to get everything up and running, but after that, I think the team did a good job, and they really took the approach seriously. So that helped. Yeah.
So it's all about the numbers for you, Mika, and your company. And the best part is you are built practically for this kind of situation. The company that calls itself Cloud.
Yeah.
you're built for this particular scenario. What about Diane? Thank you for that, Mika. Diane, Happy Skin.
Yeah, so for Happy Skin, for those who aren't aware, we're a homegrown beauty and cosmetics brands. So we're sourced from beauty capitals of the world, whether it be from Japan, Taiwan, and Korea. And here in the Philippines, at least, we're being sold in over 70 retail stores. So we have our own Happy Skin boutiques and kiosks. And then we also have retail partners such as Watson's, Landmark, Plains and Prince, and Beauty Bar. While we're also available online, we have our own website, which is happyskincosmetics.com, and in e-commerce retailers like Lazada, Shopee, Beauty MNL, and Zalora. But how we were really affected by the lockdown was obviously when the lockdown happened, all the malls were closed, right?
Retail.
Yes, because we're very heavy on retail and the malls closed down, it really impacted majority of our sales. Online also, you would think that, oh, I'm sure you still sold online, but if you remember during the first phase of this lockdown, only essentials were being shipped. And because we're really a non-essential, technically we couldn't ship out any orders, or people couldn't even order. In some online platforms, they had to deactivate non-essential items, such as Happy Skin. Yeah, so that really paints a picture of how we were affected in this lockdown.
That even though you could, I mean, technically, because everyone says, but you have online. The fact is, because you are non-essential, even if you had it in stock, you couldn't send it out to your customers, right?
Yep.
Good point there. So thank you for your honesty there, Diane. What about Nico? So Nico, we heard about the bookkeeping, we heard about cosmetics. How about your business?
Yeah, so LM10 Mutate today, we're already a group of companies. We're planning to change the name to Cloud LM10, but that's gonna be. Actually, all our finances in all our companies are run by Cloud CFO today. So Mika might know much more about the business than me today. So basically, now we're an agri company. We're kind of present in most of the. We're trying to be present as much as possible in all the supply chain from agri, but today we're focusing on four main aspects. One is animal feed. We produce feeds for different species, poultry, swine, ducks, livestock. We also do raw materials. So we trade raw materials that are the ones used to produce the feeds. We do animal waste recycling. And we also have our own agri laboratory where we do testing, not just for us, but also for all other agri companies. So today with the lockdown, of course, there are many challenges. I think one that is particularly tough is our logistics. We move a lot of containers from
out of town to Metro Manila,
to General Santos, everywhere. Yes. So before it used to take us, let's say, 5 to 10 days to move a container from Cagayan to Manila. Today, that's at 25, 30, 35 days. And of course, that affects a lot because it's not just the fact that we need to wait longer, but of course, the payment chain gets longer. Your clients also don't get the raw material on time, so they also need to look for different suppliers. And the other challenge that we're facing is, and that's where we could see and we realize how cash-oriented the Philippines is collections today. So today it's not because clients don't want to pay more. Sometimes some of them delay a little bit using the COVID excuse, but it's more because we get paid 80% in physical checks, right? So today to go all around the country to pick up those checks became a massive
harder.
Challenge.
Yes.
So yeah, people is trying to move more into online payments, but of course that's a process.
It'll take a while. It will take a while.
And we are really, and agri companies are particularly heavy in working capital. So 1 month delay for us can represent a lot of cash needed to be in operation and to keep paying our suppliers. So yeah, I think that was the biggest shock we have been experiencing.
Okay, wow. Actually, I was looking towards Nico for a little pick-me-up on this situation because he is an essential, right? What they offer with meats and poultry, you are part of the essential businesses that can operate at this time. But even you have your share of problems, as you shared with us just now. So other than all those details you already mentioned, and quite a number of them really are very big challenges, what solutions have you come up with? What solutions have you come up with? So for Mika, again, from work from home, it's still pretty ideal as long as the internet connections for your employees are provided. Any other solutions for your line of work or your business, Mika?
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, as Nico just mentioned, collections is pretty much dried up in all industries.
So that's part of your business, the collections as well.
Well, we need to get paid by our clients.
all businesses have that then.
Yes, exactly. And I think although we, as I mentioned, we rely on technology a lot, at the end of the day, behind the computers, they're, professional accountants here in the Philippines, and we need to make sure we can keep paying them because our clients need us during these times. So we do need to keep providing a service, and we do need to keep paying our people if we're providing that service. But in turn, we need to make sure we get paid. And that's, Nico just said it perfectly.
Delays.
Collections have strong delays.
Yeah.
So I think it's, what we try to do very early on is do some stress tests. And without getting too much detail, you kind of do projections. What if 50% of our clients pay on time, or what if 25% of our clients pay on time? So you kind of create scenarios where you try
what
to
you
plan.
can do.
Exactly. And you plan
good.
for a worst case scenario and a middle case scenario. And so that's what we did very early on. And we kind of planned what we call a runway. This is the worst case scenario, and this is how long we can last with the current cost structure.
That's a very good strategic way of finding solutions to the problems that are going on now, to the challenges. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, we're finance people. So for our own set of finances, we try to be as proactive as we can. And I think that's what I would maybe advise to the wider community is try to be proactive, try to be accurate. And I think this is also something that we're trying to learn from this is, how can we help our business community? We have about 100 something clients, and we would like to make sure that we help them go through these tough times, because now having a good control over your finances really will make a difference. There are times where, you have cash in the bank, things are steady, and you don't really need to look at it that much in detail on a day-to-day. I think today the margin for error is very narrow in some industries. So we're really trying to do everything we can to assist our customers in that sense. So yeah, for us, it was really very quickly make sure we could manage our cash flow and forecast accordingly so that we keep paying our people. Yeah.
Let's get into more detail about cash flow, managing your cash flow in a very short while. But other solutions then, I want to turn to Diane and Nico. Nico, especially you just listed a whole lot of problems back there. So have you found some solutions to the list of problems or challenges that you just shared with us?
Yeah, I list the problems because you asked me the problems, right?
Yeah. So now the solutions. Or what you're dealing with.
So basically, I think with all these challenges, one of the positive aspects of this is like we all became really creative in many ways. We start finding solutions that, of course, it's not a temporary solution. It's something that will improve your business model in the future. For example, we're looking at, when it comes to finance, as I said, we're with Mickael, so we're okay on that aspect, but we need also to have some financing in between to be able to maintain the working capital. Yeah. So we already have some access to some people who are helping us with PDC discounting, things like that can help us in order to keep the machine running. But when it comes more to the operations, for example, the laboratory, it's hard to get samples from Mindanao or Cebu to Manila to analyze. But when it comes to Luzon, it's okay because it's all by land. But when it comes from Visayas or Mindanao, it have to be shipped, right? So we craft some partnership with local laboratories in Visayas and Mindanao that allow us to have better, not better, the same analysis, but faster and cheaper in terms of like we cannot.
So you cut out the travel, the shipping, you cut that out. Okay, that's good.
You cut that out. And then when it comes to back office, to the people, like we really managed to put in place systems where we really realized that like meetings, like physical meetings are completely overrated. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be discussed and solved in a 45 minutes Zoom call like this, but with your employees. And, you don't need to go through traffic. You don't need to meet up. It's like you start becoming much more efficient in that sense. So
what about the delivery system? Sorry, how about the delivery system? There's no going around that. Unfortunately,
the delivery system at the beginning was really challenging because when it was, regardless if we were not essential, if we were essential or not, the ship that comes from Cagayan de Oro loads a lot of containers, not just us, right? So basically everything was affected. Now it became a bit more, it's pretty much the same, but it's a bit more assumed, right? So like our clients know that instead of 15 days will take us 30 days. So everyone is adapting to the new normal. So I think logistics today is the most difficult to solve, and there's not a solution yet, but there's an adaptation where people know, okay, now we know this will take 20 days instead of 10 or 30 days instead of 15.
Managing expectations.
Correct.
in light of what's
Internally
happening.
the same, right? For us, internally, we need to align all our cash flow because we get paid 30 days upon delivery, right? So if we deliver 30 days later, those 30 days
Are
are
doubled.
are money that we need to cash out. You know, this is a working capital that we need to maintain. So I think it shocked us the first month. The second month we started, working on it, and then force us to look for capital or force us to look for other solutions that we need to adapt. And at the end of the day, what we focused was we didn't let an employee go, thankfully. And yeah,
Not
and
yet, yeah.
everyone, all the employees were super aligned. Everyone was, I think that shows that the culture of the company makes all the employees even closer to each other, realizing that we're in a difficult situation. So everyone was going the extra mile, working Saturday, working Sundays, answering after 8 p.m. I would have never received an answer after 8 p.m. before this. So I think it's also a lot of internal culture and internal bonding in a way that's like
Bayanihan. Actually, that's a Filipino thing. Bayanihan. We're just banding together, helping each other out.
That's one of the best thing about the Philippines is how Filipinos are very used to these tough situations. Like in Argentina, we don't have typhoons, we don't have earthquake, we don't have these things. But here, every year you have 2, 3, 4, 5. So Filipinos, they know how to come together and how to support each other. And it's like an informal system in the country that it really helps a lot in this situation. And that reflects not only in the Philippines as a country, but also in the companies. You can see that there is that mentality that I definitely don't see that in Argentina at all. So I think that also was one of the positive aspects of the situation.
Thank you, Nico. And I like how thank you for your honesty that it's not necessarily solutions, it's just how you're managing the situation so far. You're adapting. So far from month number 1 to month number 3, the situation's slightly better because again, mobility is still limited, but we are more mobile than we were 2-3 months ago. And I have no doubt this applies to you, Diane, for Happy Skin. Because at least now, again, yes. So solutions with regard to the challenges you brought up, which again, though you had the stocks, you couldn't ship them out. What's the scenario now?
So funny, you think na parang we're in different industries, but actually hearing from both of them, you realize that there are a lot of similarities on how we cope. So when all the malls closed down at first, we had no sales. So we were thinking, what do we do, right? Do we even communicate with the shoppers? Because at first, we were very hesitant. Like we were thinking, would it be so insensitive if we talk about cosmetics at this time? Like everyone was talking about pandemic, people are getting sick, some lives were lost, and it would be so insensitive to talk about beauty and cosmetics, right? And at that time, because we couldn't also do any deliveries, we also couldn't push any sales, so we couldn't talk about that. So we were thinking, what is it that we want? What is it that the people want to hear? So at that time, it also helped a lot that our marketing team and our graphics team, they created a lot of content around safety and well-being. And then we also supported a lot of the local communities in terms of relief goods, donations, and how we can actually push their call and help people to just gather together. So it wasn't
even the
just
frontliners. I remember how you would send some of your products to frontliners because you wanted them to feel good. Again, a little pick me up. That definitely boosted everyone's spirits.
So that time we were also like thinking like, should we give out lipsticks? Like, wouldn't it be so insensitive? But we were so happy because when we gave it away, people were so thankful and so happy that they felt like it was a self-care package that it wasn't a usual package that they would get, and people wouldn't usually think of those self-care packages for a frontliner. And while all this was happening, like same with Mickael and Nico, we were doing a lot of scenario planning. Internally, we were talking to people, we were shifting resources accordingly, like shifting people around to what roles needed to be filled. Like if we anticipate a demand on online, how can we shift some roles to online, for example? Because we know that the retail stores will take quite a while to open. So I think this was also important. Like internally, you talk to your people, you manage your resources, and you shift it internally. And then when we did scenario planning, we were doing it the worst case, like assume that this will happen all the way until May, which it actually did, right?
Oh, okay.
So anyway, so that was the first part. But eventually, when things got better, I think we started to communicate. And I remember watching a webinar from Kantar where they actually surveyed people globally, and 3 out of 4 of them said that they really don't mind if the brands continue to talk to them during the pandemic. So slowly, we got back to talking to people and our consumers because we realized that made our brand more human after all.
Yes.
We were more relatable as a brand. And I think the right and relevant messaging can build your equity long term. And then when finally around, I think that was mid of April, they were ready to ship non-essential goods. That's where we had to focus a lot of our efforts online. So it was really giving the shoppers the best deals that we could get, some discount that we've never done before because we had to recuperate what was the lost time that happened. Yeah. And then we were giving incentives such as free shipping because we know that at this time that's a big trigger of purchase. So those are some of the means and ways that we cope with the situation.
That's great. And I like how things are working out. Again, it's still a challenge, but the point is you found ways to deal with it and even a couple of silver linings, which I'm going to get to in a quick bit. For now, though, Mika, after hearing from Diane and Nico, this is where I'd like now to finally expound on what you started earlier, how to manage cash flow, all of these measures that they already said, financial tips, because really, I think at the heart of every business, it's this managing of cash flow, how to pay your employees, operations expenses, all these things come into play. And guess what? Just because this is happening, that doesn't stop. In any business, these are the things that actually do not stop. So what are your tips maybe or comments about what practical steps or measures business owners can implement right now to help them manage their finances?
So I think there are different scenarios depending on the industry, but something that we can probably generalize to a lot of the industries, those who are the most affected, and some service businesses that are not maybe as affected. And it's a bit of a cliche, and like a lot of cliches, there's truth to it, especially right now. Cash is king. And you see a lot of businesses holding on to cash just because they don't know how long this is going to last. There are scenarios that predict retail is going to be affected up until next year and all the way through Christmas season. So holding on to cash allows you to survive in a market where liquidity is tight. So the main advice then is, depending on your industry, is make sure that you have the right tools and reports and the right processes to be able to have visibility over that. Nico mentioned several times working capital. That's pretty much now the most important thing that businesses should look into, based on my opinion.
What you're left with now, meaning what do you have right now? It's not based on what's coming in?
Actually, working capital is pretty much, in very simple terms, how much money do you need to run your business? And that's not something that's fixed. I think Nico used a perfect example, and I'll expand on that example a little. You know, let's assume that you have a business where you normally get paid within 30 days. So to provide that, so to provide the products, you need to buy the supplies, you need to pay your manpower, your manufacturing, and then you have a final product that you ship out. If you get paid 30 days from then, obviously what's important now, when do you pay your supplier? If you need to pay him right away, you're fronting 30 days of cost before you can get paid. So that's a worst case scenario. You pay your supplies right away, you get paid 30 days down the line. Now, in a scenario like this, that 30 days down the line has probably become 60 or 90 days. So you still need to pay your supplier now, but you're going to get paid in 30, 60, 90 days from now. So you don't need to finance 1 month of operations. You probably need to finance 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have the cash for that, game over in certain cases. And that's kind of our main advice right now, is be mindful of your working capital. In the SME sector, especially, people tend to run businesses on cash in, cash out kind of basis. Like, I have cash in the bank, I have cash coming in, I'm doing well. And in accounting, this brings the notion of cash accounting against accrual accounting, and I can expand a bit on that. Cash accounting pretty much is you recognize something once you pay it. So in that particular case, you only, if Nico orders beef from Argentina, that beef gets delivered today, but he only pays the supplier, say, next month. Or actually, let's use another example where the beef arrived on March 10, before the lockdown, and he needs to pay his supplier within 30 days, so he's going to pay it after the lockdown. On a cash basis, Nico is only going to recognize that expense when he pays it, so potentially within April or May.
Yes.
On an accrual basis, what you do is you actually recognize that you owe your supplier for that invoice, even if you haven't paid it. So if you're looking at cash basis, if you haven't written a check, you don't look at this. In a case like this, where you're pretty much buying things up front, you're incurring a lot of what we call liabilities that you may not be paying now because your suppliers give you some leeway, or I'll talk about this in a bit. The tax office may be giving you a bit of a more time to settle your tax obligations. You need to be aware of how much money you're pretty much owing to your stakeholders.
Because it's piling up. It's piling up. Yeah.
And it's piling up.
Go out, but it is piling
up. Exactly. But if you're only monitoring your finance on what goes out, you don't know how much is piling up.